Hey guys, this is Dustin Gotro here at CrossFit Reemerge and CrossFit McKinney. The reason I'm making this video today is I posted a video of a clean and jerk lift I did a couple weeks ago on our business page and asked everybody's advice, asked members for what they saw wrong with it. Knowingly, there were a lot of things wrong with it, a lot of muscle imbalances that need to be fixed. And I posted it for a lot of reasons. One, I want to get the word out to everybody about who we really are at CrossFit Reemerge and what our purpose is, our vision, what we believe in. And so, just to touch a little bit on that, I've had a herniated disc in my lower back, I have bulging disc in my cervical spine, and getting into the corrective industry, I figured out very quickly that a lot of these things were a result of bad movements from pattern overload, from doing the wrong things over and over again. And I created these muscle imbalances that just started to tear down on my spine, put too much pressure in places that it shouldn't be, wear down the disc, and things like that. And so as I got into the corrective industry and now on my own gym, that's my focus with my members. That's my focus with a lot of my clients is let's find these patterns that are causing the problem in the first place and fix them. If you're sitting the wrong way, if you're standing the wrong way, you're walking the wrong way, let's fix the muscle imbalances and fix the actual movement itself. Reduce the risk of any further injuries and hopefully get you out of pain that you're currently in. So one other reason that I am doing this video and I posted the last video is I've gotten in front of a lot of my clients and my members that people that work at a desk all day long, for instance, have this reality in their head that it's just not realistic for them to be in really good shape or be really mobile, and be able to fix the muscle imbalances that are created by sitting all day with just a few hours a day of free time to do whatever they need to do. And I wanted people to see that the reality of that is that people feel like because I work at a gym and I own a gym that I'm here all day and I can work on my mobility, and so I should be expected to have perfect form. And that's just not a realistic thing for people that work at a desk to be able to do. However, I posted this video to show people that I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't have all day to work on mobility either. I'm sitting at my desk at least 6 hours a day, working at the computer that I'm sitting in front of right now. I don't have great posture. It's something that I've always had to work on, and I need to continue to work on. I have the same types of stress that people deal with at a desk job. I, I would say I have a little bit of an advantage because I'm able to walk around and stand all day. But other than that, I don't have any more time than anybody else. And so I don't think that it's unrealistic for somebody that works at a desk for a living to be in good alignment, to fix muscle imbalances, and to be out of pain, especially if that's being caused by bad patterns of movement throughout the day. So that kind of moves us to our next point. Just to be very, very clear, what I'm going to talk about in this video, these are my opinions. These are opinions that are based on what I've learned in my own experiences and what I've learned with my certifications, my education background, and what I've done with corrective exercise. So, by no means is this supposed to be driven to offend anybody. Everybody's entitled to have their own beliefs about this stuff, and this is my belief system. Being that this is my gym, I want people to know what I believe in. I want our members to know. I want people on the outside to know what I believe in, and if it's something that they're interested in, then we're here to do that. So just make sure if you guys if you don't agree with this, if it goes against what you believe in, that's fine, and you're welcome to contact me, and I'm happy to meet with you and discuss. But just keep in mind, these are my opinions. This is how I believe the body works, and this is how I go about fixing it. So that'll kind of bring us into what certifications I have, what my background is, and to kind of give you an idea of who you would be working with, for members who you are working with. So certifications include obviously CrossFit Level 1, CrossFit Kids, and then I am also certified with National Academy of Sports Medicine, certified personal trainer, corrective exercise specialist, and performance enhancement specialist. I would say corrective exercise specialist is probably the cert I use more than anything I've ever learned. Most of what I do is based on that cert. All of the other ones were kind of just the baseline of how the body works. And so that's my certifications. I've been in the fitness industry about 11 years now, 10, 11 years, somewhere around there. I have mostly specialized with working on injuries, injury prevention. I have worked with quite a few high school athletes. I do really enjoy doing that. But above all, as far as our purpose for this business, our vision for this business, um, I, I've been in a lot of pain, physical pain myself from these injuries. And as I grew up, I realized they could have been prevented. And so that is my vision and purpose for this business is I want to take as many people as possible that have been told they cannot get out of pain and get them out of pain. If you're dealing with pain on a daily basis, in my mind, there has to be some way to fix that. That's what I'm here for. Is I want to figure out a way to fix that. So that's what this business is all about. So getting to the actual lift itself, for those of you that have not seen the video of the clean and jerk lift that I posted, that will be edited into this video, so you'll get to watch it here in just a bit. It was a clean and jerk, and I'm going to kind of just review the things that I saw wrong with it. For those of you out there that are very familiar with Olympic lifting, or weightlifting as properly termed, keep in mind I'm not a weightlifting specialist. If you're looking for that kind of thing, that is my brother's specialty, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with him. With that being said, there's going to be a lot of little minor things wrong with this lift that I'm not going to address in this video. The reason for that is what I'm really wanting to address here is the things that are definitely caused by my posture, that could be fixed very easily and should have been fixed years and years ago. And I want people to start recognizing those kind of things. I want our members to feel and recognize those things when they do them, so that we can come up with a long-term plan to fix it. So when we're looking at the lift, when we're looking at this video, I'm going to kind of go from the ground up just because that's the way that I've been trained. And so the first thing that we're going to look at, that a lot of people did make comments about, is the ankle mobility. So you'll notice in the squat, the heels do peel up a little bit. I do come up onto the toes. Everything shifts forward. And you'll see later on how that definitely is playing into the rest of the muscle imbalances that we're going to talk about. But to keep it simple for right now, we're looking at lack of range of motion at the ankle joint. We're just going to kind of leave it at that for right now. So moving on to the next thing, we're looking at anteriorly rotated hips. So what that means is, when I stand up out of the squat, the hips are actually tilted slightly forward. So the front of my hips are down, which is going to tuck the pelvis backwards, and keep my lower spine at a little bit too much of an arch. There's a little too much angle there, which is going to decrease my ability to activate the core, stabilize the weight overhead, and keep the lower back safe, make sure the lower back's not doing too much, and I'm not causing more problems on that disc that is already herniated, and that right in that area. So that's the a big issue I see is the anteriorly rotated hips. So we'll come back to that again. We'll keep it pretty simple right now. Moving on to the thoracic spine. So this one I'm going to spend a lot more time on. So what we're looking at here is basically from about here to here, approximately in my spine. Doesn't have a whole lot of movement. And what you'll notice if you look back at the lift, when I lock out overhead or attempt to lock out, that is, it's very wobbly. There's a lot of forwards and backwards movement. The reason is my thoracic spine is so locked up, there's no movement there and there's no stability around those vertebrae. And so When I try and lock out in that overhead position, there's so much resistance in that position that I'm having to try and compensate with my lower spine and up into the cervical spine to try and find that balance point where I can actually stabilize that weight over my head. And there's a lot of issues with that, so we're going to get to that. So the thoracic spine not moving, not being able to actually get any rotation there is a big problem. And the last thing we're going to touch on is the cervical spine, so the neck. You'll notice the neck is excessively forward pretty much throughout the entire lift, especially when I come up out of the squat and then when I receive the jerk at the end. And then also as I'm trying to stabilize the weight, you'll notice the head shifting forwards and backwards a little too much. So that's going to kind of touch on my most recent pain, I would say, that I want to address and kind of link all this stuff together and talk about what caused this and how do we fix it. And so recently, about 2 weeks ago, just before this lift, actually a few days before, I was doing back squats and began to experience some pain in the back of my neck. So I went through a series of tests, a series of assessments, several different doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists, had some scans done, some x-rays done, and come to find out it was exactly what I thought. My head has always been a little bit too far forward. And it's been shifted long enough now. I've put enough weight on top of it at this point that it's starting to irritate the disc tissue that is in between each vertebrae. And there are slightly bulged now. So that pain went on for about 2 weeks. I've got it back to where it's manageable now. But I've been in rehab for about 2 weeks, putting myself through rehab here at the gym. Same stuff I put my clients through, all the same rolling and stretches. I probably push it a little bit further than I would with a client, but that's just my stubbornness. So what we're getting at here is where does all this stuff come into play when we start talking about neck pain? We're talking about ankle mobility, hip mobility, thoracic mobility, weak core. Why is my neck hurting? For a lot of people, this just doesn't make sense. So we're going to kind of link it all together. In my mind, the way that I'm looking at it as is we have tight ankle joints. The calves are too tight and shortened. You're shifting everything forward. That alone is already pushing everything in the body forward slightly. And then we're front loaded with that clean and then overhead with the jerk while everything else is shifted forward. So that's going to create some problems. One of those problems being tight hips, as well as the fact that I sit at a desk about 6 hours a day with really, really bad posture. Hips tucked under. Usually my legs are tucked up in front of my desk on something, so my legs are straight out in front. So the hamstrings, the glutes are deactivated. The entire back's rounded. The shoulders are falling forward. So that's going to start to create that pelvic tilt that we talk about, where the hips are too tight, the glutes and hamstrings are very, very low activation. They don't work very well, and they're not able to tuck my hips underneath me like they should be into that neutral position. And so that's going to start to cause a lot of instability in the hips and in the lower spine, lumbar area. And so moving up from there, thoracic spine, again, it's sitting in a desk with really bad posture, shoulders rounded forward, head rounded forward. I also stand that way. For those of you that know me, I have a habit of my shoulders rounding forward. That's something that I'm always working on, trying to get my chest up. And so tight chest, tight lats, those kind of things can cause that, and bad posture. And so that's where we start looking at. Now I have no stability in my shoulders. So getting to the neck, so the last muscle bounce we're looking at, just the neck being in this position for most of my day, looking down at my phone, looking over my steering wheel in the car, everything I do, my head is forward. Just that alone with the weight of my head, because my brain's so huge, as my head shifts forward, that's going to start to wear away at the disc in the neck. It's going to start to take that natural curve out of the neck, and eventually we end up with some issues. On top of that, I do train pretty heavy, and so there's a lot of times where I'm putting weight on my shoulders, on my back, and the neck shifts forward when I do that. So now I'm putting a little compression just underneath that onto the thoracic spine, locking that up a little bit more, and then that pressure is shifting my head forward to try and compensate for it to balance so I don't fall backwards in a back squat. And so we're looking at just a lot of straining in the back of the muscles, shoulder blades, the back of the neck, all the retractors for the shoulders, all that stuff's going to be weak. And so I have to be very careful how we say this, but my issue with the traditional treatment for this, I'm not going to specify any particular industry, but the typical treatment for this is, all right, well, everything's hurting back here, the back of the neck, the traps. So we're going to break loose the traps. We're going to break loose all the muscles in the back of the neck. We're going to break loose the shoulder blades. And then the pain goes away. Um, that's all good and great for about 24 hours. The problem with it is you just broke loose and loosened all of the muscles that are already weak and stretched out too far. So at this point, you just increased the muscle imbalance and made it that much worse on the actual spine itself. And that to me is a problem. Now, taking a step back, do I believe that those muscles need to be released if they're spasming and causing a lot of pain? Yes, absolutely. However, I do not believe you can only do that and expect the body to just automatically start pulling everything back where it's supposed to be. And so I'm going to kind of go through just a very brief overview of if I were to take my body, my muscle imbalances, and fix it, which I am doing right now. And I'll update in about 6 weeks after all this rehab with some before and afters and kind of the process I went through and where I'm at the time. So quick overview of what I'm doing for rehab. So we're looking at ankles, hips, thoracic spine, cervical spine. Those are the four main issues. Again, there's other small issues. I'm not going to address that in this video. Rolling and stretching the muscles that are tight, causing each of these imbalances. So just quickly, the main ones, the calves for the ankles, the quads and hip flexors for the hips, a little bit of chest and lats for the thoracic, and then we're going to look at sterno and then scalenes on the side here. Everything in the front and side of the necks, we want to open up and start to work on getting that curve back. And so that's all the rolling. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us the mobility that's required to be able to do any type of human movement we need to do without putting extra stress places that it should not be in the body. Okay. Keep in mind, I just said mobility. I did not say stability. Okay. So the part that I think a lot of programs are missing is going to be isolating the weak muscle groups. Okay. So going back through those muscles, if we loosen up the calves and we allow that ankle range of motion, that's great. But are we strengthening the opposing muscle to be able to support that extra range of motion and be able to stabilize the ankle joint while going through that range of motion? If we're not, then there's a major problem. We need to be doing that. So we're going to be looking at anterior tibialis, depending on the position of the foot. In my case, a little bit of strengthening posterior tibialis as well to work on my arch, get a little bit better stability in the ankle. The hips, we're looking at building more stability in the hips by isolating the glutes and hamstrings, making sure that they're working properly. So again, if we just break loose the quads and the hips, we're not doing anything to stabilize that range of motion by strengthening the hamstrings and glutes. We're not really doing any good permanently. We're just temporarily relieving some pressure. So we've got to fix that actual problem. And then same thing for the thoracic spine, same thing for the cervical spine. We've got to strengthen the weak muscles. Now, at this point, assuming we've done all of that for, say, 6 weeks, now we have the mobility to get to the right range of motion, to hold proper posture, and to move functionally properly. We have the stability that we know our ankle joints, our knee joints, our hip joints, our spine, our hips, everything can work through that range of motion and get stronger and everything's working properly. However, we haven't integrated that back into a full body movement. So we wouldn't want to just fix these things by isolating those weak muscles and fixing the muscle imbalances, and then let's go jump back into a clean and jerk and expect everything to work properly together in the right sequence. It's highly unlikely that's actually going to happen. In fact, if I do that, it's highly likely I will get injured. So the last step that, again, a lot of programs are missing is integrating this back into a functional movement. So let's take the shoulder girdle, for instance, just because it's the easiest to explain. So let's say I'm in this position, just a little here. So let's say I'm in this position where I'm curled over all day, I'm sitting forward, I'm leaning forward, working on my computer all day, really tight chest, neck starting to pull forward, tight lats, and so the shoulders begin to get this rounded effect where this is my natural position, where in reality that position should be way back here. Okay, so the shoulders are rounded out, they're in this position. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go in, I'm going to roll and stretch the chest, I'm going to roll and stretch the lats, I'm going to reposition the shoulders where they should be. Um, as far as the isolation, the strengthening, I'm going to use a lot of retraction work. We're going to actually work on some neck retractions. We'll work on the neck curve a little bit to help pull that entire head back as well, get everything realigned properly. At that point, the shoulder blades are working. However, the shoulder blades have not, at this point, been taught how to react whenever I do a heavy pull from the ground and I'm about to go into a very explosive hip drive into the bar to propel the bar up to the shoulders. And then the shoulder blades have not been trained to catch in a front rack position and stabilize the shoulder in that joint. And so my fix for this is integrating this into a lot of repetition with lightweight. So in other words, once we know everything is working properly, now we start having the client go through these movements. So go through some clean and jerk progressions with just a bar. For some clients, it may even be a PVC pipe. Relearn these movements properly, make sure the muscles are firing in the proper patterns. If they're not, then we cue the client to get those patterns to fire properly. Once they're firing properly, then we slowly increase intensity and weight and all that fun stuff to begin strengthening up that new alignment. And so that's kind of my entire explanation of concepts for fixing this type of stuff. One last thing I want to touch on is even if I do all of this, even if I do a 12-week program, 16-week program, I do all this rehab, I get my body functioning perfectly. If I still continue to sit in this position for 6 hours a day, the 1 hour a day of working out is not going to fix that. So it's very important to me that our clients understand that these muscle imbalances are caused by what we're doing on a daily basis. Yes, I can go in and work on the mobility, the stability, the integration, and I can fix it. However, if you don't fix the patterns that caused it in the first place, if we don't change your lifestyle, if we don't change how you're standing, how you're sitting, how you're working, how you're going throughout your daily life, it's not going to fix itself. It's going to come back. You will get injured again. So it's very important that everybody understands we can fix it and get you out of pain, but we have to fix the issue in the first place, which is your posture. Now, I know, again, this isn't going to cover everybody. There are exceptions. There's impact injuries. There's car accidents. There's everything. However, for most people that are in chronic pain, moderate to severe, it's posture. It's bad posture. We're sedentary people. We look down at our phones all day. We leave our chest caved in all day. We walk with bad form. We run with bad form. We lift with bad form. There's daily things that need to be fixed, and that's what we spend our time on. Outside of just fixing the problem, is teaching people how to properly move. How does your body work? How is it supposed to work? And how do we kind of make that transition from really, really bad alignment to slowly bringing it back to full good alignment. So that pretty much covers it for this video. The next video I post is going to be kind of a follow-up with x-ray photos of before and after of my neck curve. Hopefully I can get a hold of some past x-rays of my thoracic so we can kind of see the change there. And just kind of a basic update on where I'm at with everything. In the meantime, if you are in chronic pain, we are offering a free consultation right now. If you'd like to come in and meet with myself for an hour and get an assessment done, see what kind of alignment you're in, see what kind of pain you're in daily, and kind of look at the future to what we can do to fix it and what possibilities there are, what we can do for you. Come by and visit us at CrossFit Reemerge here in McKinney, Texas. Thanks. Bye, guys.